Hello guys, so today we are going to learn about John Milton, who was an English poet, polemicist, and a civil servant. He was influenced by poets or writers such as William Shakespeare, John Donne, Dante. He was revered by William Blake, William Wordsworth, Thomas Hardy. His views were developed by extensive reading, travel, and experience. Now talking about life of Milton, he was born in 1608 and he died in 1674. He was born in London to a Protestant scrivener. He got his education from St. Paul's School and Christ's University. He retired from reading and he lost his eyesight. He was so much interested in reading and he was so much absorbed in reading कि उनकी eyesight चली गई थी just because of reading and studying so hard. He was very much self-conscious. उन्हें पता था that he is going to give world something epic, something very different, something very extraordinary. He hoped after long preparation to write an epic poem that would bring honor to his country and outshine the epics of Homer and Virgil. He believed in self-discipline and one's own guidance rather than discipline imposed from outside. He believed कि जो वो सोच रहे हैं जो उनके सामने है, उसी के बेसिस पे वो चलेंगे and he will not be manipulated by other things. Now, life of Milton, he was destined for priesthood, but he denied that because of corruption in church and tyranny of bishops. He used to take rational path. He was a rebel with a cause. He spent his time at home, it's not hope, it's home, then traveled to Italy in 1638 to 1639, and there he met intellectuals such as astronomer Galileo. And these people he have mentioned in his work. नाउ ही रिटर्न टू इंग्लैंड. वो इंग्लैंड दोबारा आते हैं 1639 में बिकॉज उन्हें लगता है कि इंग्लैंड में सिविल वॉर होने वाली है. एंड एज ही स्टूड फॉर राइट, एज ही स्टूड फॉर द रैशनल पाथ, ही बिलीव्ड कि उनका होना इंग्लैंड में ज़रूरी है. सो ही वेंट होम अगेन इन 1639. ही टुक पार्ट इन द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन and supported as a champion of liberty and wrote pamphlets against bishops, censorships. We can say pen is mightier than the sword and इनकी इन चीज़ों ने अच्छे फ्रूट्स रिजल्ट्स दिए. नाउ प्योरिटन्स जो थे क्रॉमवेल के अंडर, उन्होंने काफ़ी विक्ट्रीज दी थी अगेंस्ट रॉयलिस्ट. दोज वर आर्कबिशप लॉर्ड was executed in 1645. King Charles I was captured and executed in 1649. Monarchian House of Lords was abolished. Commonwealth government was established. Okay, so Cromwell जो थे जिनके साथ मिल्टन जो थे इसमें थे सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, he made him the secretary of foreign tongues in the Commonwealth government. तो यहाँ तक सही चल रहा था, but soon tables were turned. 1652 में क्या हुआ? He became blind and he need to withdraw from most of his duties. So हमने पहले की स्लाइड्स में पढ़ा था कि उनकी आईसाइट खराब होती जा रही थी just because he was very much absorbed in reading. But 1652 तक वो completely blind हो गए थे. And the sonnet on his blindness जो कि आपके syllabus में है dates from 1652. But soon tables turned, monarchy abolished जो हुई थी वो दोबारा established हो गई 1660s में. And for time he was effectively under house arrest because he was a supporter of republicanism. ऐसे बोलते ना वक्त बदलते देर नहीं लगती. सो अर्लियर मिल्टन एंड उनके सपोर्टर्स जीत गए थे बट अब दोबारा मोनार्की इस्टेब्लिश हो गई थी. नाउ मिल्टन लॉस्ट हिज आई साइट. Though he lost his eyesight, but by 1860s he felt that his blindness was a gift of insight. Though उनकी eyesight चली गई थी, but he had this positive and optimistic approach कि कोई नहीं eyesight चली गई तो he still has something worthy. Now, Milton's lifelong sense was that the solemn duty of a poet was to praise and justify the works of God. He took poetry so personal. Now, in his work, Reason of Church Government, 1642, he had explained how God, even to a strictness, requires the improvement of these entrusted gifts. God ने कुछ सोच के हमें कुछ चीज़ें दी होती हैं, right? तो हमें उनका अच्छे से यूज़ करना चाहिए. That's what he meant. And the poet must wonder how and in what manner he shall dispose and employ those sums of knowledge and illumination which God had sent him into this world to trade with. Otherwise इन गिफ्ट्स का फ़ायदा क्या है? गॉड ने हमें दे दिया, गॉड ने हमें पोट्री का वो दे दिया, क्या दे दिया? Skills दे दी. And if you're not using it, we're just sitting idle and we are not using it, then it's vain. Everything is just vain. Now, let's talk about his writing style. In the poem On His Blindness, we will witness Milton's struggle to accept the restraints imposed on him by God, and he chooses to express this in restrictive form of the sonnet. Now he believed कि poet की duty होती है God, so he believed कि भाई God ने हमें जो चीज़ें दी है उसमें हमारी ड्यूटी होती है हम उन्हें अच्छे से यूज़ करें, यूटिलाइज करें उनका. सो दो उनकी आइज चली गई थी, उनकी आई साइट चली गई थी, स्टिल ही बिलीव्ड इन दैट थ्योरी एंड वो फिर अपनी स्किल्स का यूज़ करते हैं इवन दो ही इज ब्लाइंड. वी कैन से ही वॉज नॉट ओनली रेबेलियस इन पॉलिटिक्स बट इन हिज राइटिंग्स टू. हमने पहले की स्लाइड्स में पढ़ा था कि कैसे ही डिनाइड प्रीस्टहुड बिकॉज ही फाउंड इट इरेशनल. नाउ अगेन इन पोइट्री ऑल्सो ही डिड द सेम. उन्हें जो चीज़ें सही नहीं लग रही थी, एथिकल इरेशनल लग रही थी, इनएथिकल इरेशनल लग रही थी, he denied them, such as he uses Italian or Petrarchan form of the sonnet that includes octave 8 lines and sestet 6 lines. Then he follows unwritten rules that sestet should comprise 2 tercets, that means group of 3 lines, and not end in a couplet. Sonnet form imposes some restrictions and he encountered those constraints using enchantment, continued sense without pause limit set by a line. एक लाइन होती है उसकी एक पॉज लिमिट होती है पोइट्री में. सो ही डिडेंट फॉलो दैट. ही वॉज लाइक कि भाई अगर मेरे थॉट्स इन लाइन से या इस लिमिट से एक्सटेंड हो रहे हैं तो दैट्स अ गुड थिंग. वो थॉट्स हैं, वो हो सकते हैं एक्सटेंड एंड ही विल राइट इन द वे दे आर. वो उसमें कोई आर्टिफिशियल चेंजेस नहीं करेंगे पोइट्री की रूल्स की वजह से. ही कॉल्ड राइम स्कीम अ वेक्सेशन, हिंड्रेंस एंड कॉन्स्टेंट. उन्होंने कहा ये राइम स्कीम क्या फालतू की चीज़ है. ही एक्चुअली थॉट दैट कि पोएम जो है उसका एसेंस जो होता है वो उसके मीनिंग में होता है, नॉट इन राइम स्कीम. Said to the poet and felt the sense variously drawn out from one verse into another was a more important feature than the jingling sound of like and things. He was first modern writer to employ unrhymed verse outside of the theatre or translations. You need to remember this. Now, very important slide. Milton is described as the greatest English author by his biographer William Hiley, right? Samuel Johnson also praised his poem Paradise Lost. This poem elevated his reputation as one of history's greatest poets. And it was written in blank verse and included 12 books. You will learn about this poem, you will read some portions of this poem in some other semester, not in this. So let's keep ourselves restricted to On His Blindness. You need to remember one other thing. In one of his books, Samuel Johnson praised him for having the power of displaying the vast, illuminating the splendid, enforcing the awful, darkening the gloom, and aggravating the dreadful. So these two names you should remember if you want to fetch good marks. So for now, we are done. But next time we will read about On His Blindness, which is in your syllabus. So till then, keep learning, keep exploring. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe.